Moving on to other news now, as the closest ally in the European Union to both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Viktor Orban is hoping to use his unique position for a favorable exception to U.S. measures targeting Russia over the war in Ukraine. As he meets with the U.S. president in Washington today, the Hungarian Prime Minister then wants a waiver on American sanctions on Russian oil. Hungary, of course, being heavily dependent on Russian fossil fuels, and this despite EU efforts to wean itself off since the start of the war in Ukraine. For more on this, France 24's international affairs editor Philip Turle joins me on set. Hi, Philip.
Hello, Aaron.
So is all of this the excitement from Washington and Hungary about Russian oil then?
Basically, I think you've hit it on the head, and I think there is a lot of nervousness on the part of the Hungarian Prime Minister as he heads to the White House to meet Donald Trump. Remember, they're pretty close as leaders. They met 3 times in Mar-a-Lago last year before Donald Trump was re-elected. This is the first meeting between the two men in the White House since Donald Trump retook office back in January. But it's not going to be a big patting on the back saying everything's wonderful. What Viktor Orban wants to obtain is a reduction in sanctions on Russian oil being exported to Hungary. Now, I'll give you that magic figure. 80% or 5 million tons a year is exported of Russian oil into Hungary, and Hungary's economy really depends on it. It's even increased in 2024, up another 10%. So Viktor Orban is worried that the sanctions that Donald Trump has introduced on 2 Russian oil giants is going to have a knock-on effect not only on him, but also on the Hungarian economy and on his chances of winning the election next year. So all of these 3 elements are being brought together ahead of these discussions taking place in the White House. I think that what Viktor Orban wants to achieve is recognition that he can't get rid of that Russian oil in 5 minutes, that he wants Donald Trump to play in his favor, saying, look, I'm your prime supporter in the European Union. I also have contacts with Vladimir Putin. It was in Budapest that you were going to organize that summit meeting between Vladimir Putin and yourself. You've got to make an effort towards me to help me keep in power next year in the elections and also to keep the economy running. So I think those are the major issues. Of course, Ukraine will also be on the agenda of these talks today, but the major issue is what can Viktor Orban obtain from Donald Trump in trying to maintain those oil supplies and not being handicapped by sanctions.
There's another major issue for Viktor Orban, though, Philip, isn't there? And that is opinion polls in his home country.
Well, depending, of course, on which opinion polls you look at, and many of them are under the control of the government, so therefore they will always say that the Fidesz party of Viktor Orban is in the lead. But if you look at some of the more independent opinion polls, not good reading for Viktor Orban, because he is seeing an increase in support for his main rival, a former member of his own Fidesz party. His name is Peter Magyar, and he's running for a company called the Tisza movement. And if you look at those opinion polls, it's giving Tisza at least a 10% advance over Fidesz, 48 to 37% of opinion poll ratings or voting intentions ahead of those elections, which could be either in April or in May next year. So that's something else that Viktor Orban has got to worry about. And on top of that, there is another factor which is playing against him, and that is because he's been in power for 15 years, many people in Hungary are getting what is being termed as Orban fatigue. They are tired of this populist prime minister. They want to turn the page. They want to try something new. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about prices. They're worried about making ends meet. They don't have the confidence in Viktor Orban anymore to do that, particularly with endemic corruption and high food prices in the country. That's why we're seeing a shift away from the support of Fidesz. It was always a foregone conclusion that he was going to be re-elected all the way down the line since 2010. This time round, it's a little bit more difficult for him when he's face-to-face with opposition and opposition candidate who seems to be far more popular. So another element which I think will play into the discussions that we're going to see later today in the White House.